Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me. There's
Yes, I
George.
can.
Excellent.
How
Good
are
morning,
you?
everyone. I promise one of these days I will get this technology thing correct. The good news is I'm not in the forest this time, so my Wi-Fi works. George, so good to see you.
Wonderful
Well,
seeing you.
welcome, everyone. So a couple of things before we get into this. Thank you to Indie Congress for having us. A few quick announcements. Tomorrow, CEO at 1776, Jen Mayer and Andrew Benioff will cover the new wave entrepreneurship and future of flexible office spaces. On Thursday, another one of our advisory board members, Tom Dibble of Screen Pilot, will speak with Robert Cole of Focusrite and Rock Cheetah on hotel market forecasts. And then finally, on Friday afternoon, Amar Lavani, CEO of Standard Hotels, will go live for cocktails. ILC would love to thank our presenting sponsor, Ivy by Go Moment, for supporting our digital events. We do have more sponsorship opportunities. If you're interested, you can find Jackie Kelly's contact information on our website at ilcongress.com. Finally, please consider donating to ILC. We rely heavily on our live events as our main source of revenue. So any donations would be so appreciated through this challenging time. You can donate on our website at ilcongress.com. So with that, I am here today with the very fun George Gottl. This is usually how our conversations go. We talk to each other, we laugh at each other. But a few years ago, I was tagged along to a lunch with my boss at the time to lunch with George. And, we get chatting. And of course, in the course of a conversation, we find that we know about 10 people in common. It's just how I think South Asians first and designers second roll. And ever since then, I waited in a professional capacity to find a way to work with George. And finally, last year it happened. And I thought why it would be fun to have him here is that because, I find in my personal life, and I'm sure many designers will agree, we get so caught up in the minutia of, experience design and building hotels and certainly solving all these operational problems. Sometimes you need to step back and sort of say, okay, let's look at the market. If we're designing for luxury, what can we learn from other industries? What can we learn from retail? What might we learn from fashion? And it just so happens that, George has a tremendous amount of expertise in all of those worlds. Another thing also is that some might say, why are we even talking about luxury right now? And I think it's important. And, we sort of collectively feel so because, post all of this, post COVID, it isn't going to be about access anymore. It's going to be about access. It isn't necessarily going to be about wealth. It's going to be the ability to do things that is really going to form, what that sense of luxury truly is. And, if you know, and if you don't, there won't be any amount of money in the world that can give you that insider access. And that's sort of, I think, the story that we're looking to tell, or we're looking to deep into a little bit more as a collective. So getting into it, George, why don't you sort of take us through, do you feel like the values of consumers have shifted post-COVID?
Oh my God, yes. I think that there will be a huge change, especially with younger consumers. The emerging consumer base out there has a very different set of values. And I think what's interesting is it's actually not even a discussion about luxury. And it's not even a discussion about sectors. You can say the beauty sector, the fashion sector, the hospitality or hotel sector, the restaurant sector. What everyone is in the business of doing right now is creating experiences. That is, in the end, what consumers are after. And I think that, when we try to parallel about what luxury is, luxury has always been about aspiration. And today, more than ever, it's not about the ownership of an object. So the value of that aspiration has shifted dramatically. So when we're saying it's not about monetary value or wealth, it can be, but that's not the point. The point is access and insider exclusivity. So, and it's not even an exclusiveness like we're talking about in the past, where there's the red velvet rope in front and then someone, pointing, you come in, you come in, you come in. It's not about that at all. It's about having access to, and I'll give you an example. So during Paris Fashion Week, when all the amazing shows are happening, the thing that's most coveted is the backstage staff t-shirt, not the stuff going down the runways. Because the backstage staff t-shirt means you're an insider, you're there, you're participating in this exciting event, you're co-creating with those brands this amazing moment, and you're putting a show on for everybody. So having that t-shirt means that you have a certain level of status, that you've been included within a group of people that are actually orchestrating this event. So when we're talking about aspiration in the future, it is not necessarily about having a lot of money. It's basically about having access to amazing things, the don't you know factor. It's a very, I grew up in LA, so it's a very LA thing. LA's full of this kind of cliquey world that, it's inclusive but exclusive at the same time. And I'll give you an example of, like, when I was in LA last time, we went shopping, and there were all these very exclusive stores that have no sign outside, that often don't even have store frontage on the street. They're inside another space. And the only way you know is by someone telling you that's the hottest, best store in town, go there. And the fact that you're there, it doesn't matter how you're dressed. You don't have to walk in dressed in status. They will already know that you know, because the fact that you show up at their door, because they're hidden, is that kind of new level of luxury.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about, in particular, hospitality and the world of hotels and the world of restaurants, I mean, you guys are a service industry, quote unquote, but what you're really in the business of making are memories for people. It's an industry that creates moments. It creates a type of, for example, I just came back from Morocco before this whole COVID thing started, and me and my partner had probably one of the best holidays I've ever experienced in my life. And we stayed at Riyadh in Morocco. It wasn't the normal kind of, I forget the name of the really luxurious hotel there in Marrakesh. La Mamounia, right. So we didn't stay there. We stayed at a different hotel, and we experienced such a level of intimate personal service. They treated us and catered to us in a way that I don't think other luxury hotels would have been able to, that were larger. This hotel gave us a type of personal treatment and hit all the boxes in terms of the things that we look for as an aspirational holiday. And again, it's outside of traditional status, and I think that today in particular, that kind of very personal, highly engaged level of service is what creates that feeling of aspiration, is what gives people that feeling that they're doing something beyond just the ordinary.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, and there was a few comments that I think kind of resonate on this, it's that sense of creating belonging, right? You are part of something, you are being included.
Absolutely.
There was certainly a time and a genre and a place in, the history of people where the red rope was in fact what it was, but I do believe that there has been this turn about, towards the less labeled, the more inclusive, the more in the know. And I think, whether it's the Riyadh and the personal service that you might have received from the person who, runs the Riyadh, who has actually welcomed you into their home, like, that is luxurious. I mean, I bet if I were to poll every single person on this call right now, everyone's got other sort of very burning desires right now that are so luxurious. I'd like to be able to get on a plane. I know Bashar's on this call. I'd like to be able to, find flour so I can bake bread and not have to do beer bread. I mean, it's that aspiration, and no aspiration is too big or too small.
I think, it's not even, it's also a shift from status to transformation. So it's this idea that brands can help you become better, that they give you more. Because I think what you said earlier You know, this idea that it's an elevated experience, it's somehow special. You're part of a community. You feel like you're part of a group. You know, I think the idea of fandom is super important. You know, I ask these stores, like, how do they survive? They don't have anything traditional. They don't have storefronts. They don't have the normal thing that, you know, quote unquote, a store should have in order to generate sales. And he said something very insightful. He goes, we have fans. Mm. He didn't even say we have customers. We have fans. Right. And these stores, I think, are probably going to come out okay post-COVID, because those fans will still continue to follow that experience, because that experience means more to them than just a transactional point.
So how do you see this sort of parlaying into hospitality, you know, this shift or this thinking, you know, how does it impact the market? How does it impact hospitality? Like, you know, what can we pull from that?
Well, I think, you know, hospitality, again, like I said, is about making memories. So what is it that a brand can do that is unique, that sets itself apart from other experiences? I think the world of boutique hotels in particular, I mean, I think immediately after this, when we start traveling again after this post-COVID nightmare ends, business travel is probably going to be pulled way back. You know, I don't think that business travel is going to be at the intensity that it has been, obviously, because of what we're doing right now. Like, all of a sudden, all these companies are used to using digital media in order to communicate and have quote-unquote meetings, right? So they're going to not say, oh, George, you're going to go on a business class ticket for $7,000, you know, and blah, 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 blah. They're not, it's not going to be as open. So I think that people that travel after post-COVID are going to be pleasure seekers. They're going to be the holiday people, the people that want to enrich and elevate their lives. So they're obviously not going to be staying in a chain business hotel that's going to give them business services. They're going to want to stay in a place that's going to elevate that moment that they're having, that finally out of this, you know, prison and into, again, making these special moments with the people that you care about. Mm-hmm. So the hospitality experience on every level then has to be elevated. The environment, the food, the service, you know, also a sense of safety. I mean, what I'm saying now is hygiene is the new beauty. Like, being hygienic is what it's all about in the future. So how can also these experiences help create a sense of safety and security for people that are finally going to get back on the plane?
Yeah, so true. Hygiene is the new beauty. So, so true. How do you see brands surviving after all of this? You know, it's, if we're talking, and this is a question I ask myself, you know, all the time working where I work, you know, certainly there's a security to big box brands, but by the same token, if people are looking for these smaller, more personal, exclusive opportunities and experiences, what do you anticipate survival to look like when we're past?
I don't think it's about big or small. It's about inspiration. So does the brand inspire the consumer somehow? Does the brand inspire people to go and experience what they're offering? So whether it's fashion or a great room somewhere or a fantastic meal, what is it about that brand that is...
A fantastic meal that you have not had to cook yourself. I mean...
Oh my God, let me tell you. I thought I went into panic mode because I used to eat out practically every night. So I've learned something about my survival skills. I can actually make meals.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I totally broke the flow there, but I was like, it was too easy.
No, but you know, that's the reality. It's like, you know, for me, the pleasure of eating in a restaurant again, because I really enjoy eating out. I don't eat out just to survive. I eat out because I enjoy the moment. I enjoy going out, being in a great environment, having a great meal, enjoying time with either my partner or my friends. So for me, eating out is a really important part of my life. And I'll tell you right now that when, you know, this opens back up, I'm going to go to the places that are at my absolute favorites, that they recognize me at, that they remember me, that I get a special, I feel somehow special being in that environment, you know, whether it's because of the way I'm treated or because the environment is so beautiful or there's a favorite dish that I crave, you know.
Or you're welcome.
And again,
it's just like someone has welcomed you back into their reality.
You know, there's a little restaurant downstairs from the office that I go and have lunch at every day. And it's a kind of a nice one. It's not like a fast food. It's a sit-down kind of restaurant. And I would go there almost every day for lunch. And Now they're doing takeaway only, obviously, and they're standing on the street with a table. And, you know, I still go there and I get a burger, and I really miss them. And they miss me, and they like know me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like there's a part of my life that's been cut out, you know, and that kind of fandom is super invaluable. You know, you cannot, like, that's what's going to get brands through this, is that they've been able to create a community, and that there's people there. Like, I go there not because I have to. I go there because I want to at least buy the food and the things from them to keep them going, because they're part of my life. They're part of my work day, you know? Right. And so I think, you know, brands that have been able to bring consumers together and to give them meaning, those are the ones that are going to survive. And I kind of, you know, everyone's talking about, you know, retail Armageddon, and I think it's just, you know, right now it's not really retail Armageddon. I think what's happening was what was already happening. It's just it's been accelerated by COVID. And I think, in my opinion, that right now, even though everyone has been through a lot of very stressful, challenging times, what's coming out on the other end is incredibly, I mean, the opportunities are huge to transform the landscape, to be able to accommodate consumers with how they actually want to be treated versus how, you know, these bigger companies that haven't been able to move very quickly have been treating people.
For sure. I think the nimble speed to market shift, do things, try things, test things. What's the worst? They don't work, move on, you know. I'm trying live Instagram storying, and somehow I'm managing to keep it together. So, you know, there's definitely an appetite, I find, for people where, you know, I think we're all just being a little bit kinder to each other and trying to motivate one another to do new things, try new things, welcome people, experiment with something. What's the worst? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know? We're also definitely less judgy, you know, we're certainly far more willing to have the experience of maybe not the perfect, you know, sort of transactions, knowing that you do get the burger, even if it is at a table, and you do know that when the good days come back, you're going to be right back at your regular table in that restaurant.
Yeah, and you want them to do well. Like it's so important for brands to have fandom, to have people that are passionate about who those brands are, and to really be able to support them. That's what's going to pull them through any kind of challenging circumstance, actually.
For sure, for sure. What role do you see physical and digital playing, you know, post-COVID? You know, we've all sort of, at a high level, everyone's sort of talking about digital, but, you know, certainly developing digital technology takes a little bit of time, but, you know, digital, physical together, what are you seeing?
Well, I mean, look at us now. This is it. I mean, this is the future. So I think what's happened is, again, there's been an acceleration. So what has happened now has forced people to use platforms that they're normally not accustomed to, you know. And, you know, I'll give you an example. I have a very dear friend of mine, probably my best friend from college, who I've known for 30 years. They're a couple. And we use this thing called Marco Polo to communicate every day. So she's in the west coast of the US and I'm here, so there's like a 9-hour time difference. And every day I get on Marco Polo and I leave her a message and she leaves one for me. And it's so wonderful because I feel like I'm so connected to her. Now, is that digital or is that physical? You know, it's like, yes, there's a platform that digitally connects you, but at the same time, you're telling stories about your day. I take her on a bike ride with me. You know, those are the kinds of things that start to happen. And I think that for, you know, everyone talks about the channels, the omni-channel, right? Right. Consumers don't have channels. They're completely fluid. They'll do and use whatever it is that they need to elevate or get whatever experience they want. So in my opinion, IRL and virtual, to me, will completely be unified. And I think the trick is, in the past, a lot of brands immediately went to digital as a type of element within a space, like a screen or something that the consumer would have to interact with, right? Right. That's not what digital is about. Digital is about utilizing every type of platform that is available. So whether it's the handheld device the customer's on, whether it's an interesting app or platform, whether it could be a digital element inside of a space too. I mean, why not? You know, it doesn't really matter. I think what what does matter is how the digital is applied to help support the overall experience, and that those experiences, both physical and virtual, are integrated into one brand moment, whatever that might be.
Right, right. It's kind of early in the conversation generally, you know, in COVID, in life. Are you getting a sense, you know, particularly since you're in Europe, and I feel like you guys are just a little bit ahead of us. I mean, I certainly wake up every morning and I look at what my friends in Spain and Hong Kong are doing to get a sense of maybe what the future holds. But even
Yeah.
from a business perspective, are you seeing inklings of things, like interesting things that have crossed your path, or is it too early?
Well,
What's that looking like?
yeah, I mean, the Dutch have been really relaxed about the whole COVID thing. Obviously, the schools, the gyms, the restaurants, all those things have been closed. But in terms of the kind of quarantine that some of the other countries have had, like, for example, Spain, you're only allowed to leave the house at certain hours during certain times, and it's a rotating system, and they don't have that here. What they believe in is individual responsibility, and everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and everybody does it.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's a little bit different. So all the stores, for the most part, have remained open. So all the fashion stores, the plant stores, the hardware store, whatever it is, they're all open. So you can go in. Obviously, they have the social distancing. They have the tape on the floor. Only 3 or 4 people in the store at once. You know, all the rules are still there, but nothing has been completely shut down. So the transition here in Holland, at least, is going to be very easy. I don't think it's going to be a difficult transition.
You know, you're going to end up with a bunch of us coming to visit. You know, sort of, I've totally taken you off a path, but I think, you know, if you were to sort of go back into luxury, just as a designer, are you able to sort of crystal ball and say, what are some of the things that you would want to try or you would want to see manifested, you know, out there in the physical world, be it retail, be it hospitality, be it whatever, you know, I say this because right now, all of us in the hotel design world are kind of mired in the hand sanitizer dispensers and the, you know, social distance signage. And, you know, what I want for us as a collective, like, use your brain and start to think, like, what are those things that we need? What are we going to focus on? You know, what are we going to do with our limited expertise on digital? You know, something came up a few weeks ago, you know, are there things with other senses that we might do? Like, talk to us, dream with us for a minute. Yeah.
I mean, I think again, you know, it's about uniqueness. And, you know, what are you in the business of exactly? Like, what is it? Why does someone choose, you know, a brand within the Marriott group versus another brand within another group? What is it that sets you apart? Because I think after this post-COVID thing, the competition is going to be super fierce. There's going to be, I think, you know, obviously there's been an economic downturn. Everyone is feeling the pinch. So battling over those dollars is going to be, you know, fiercer than ever. So what are you going to be able to supply to create a point of difference? How can you elevate? How can you understand and get insights from the customers that you're serving and understand what they're really actually buying from you? You know, anyone can offer a bed for a night, but what is it that you're offering beyond that that is going to somehow engage the customer base that you have in a meaningful way and bring them a benefit? I think that everyone in fashion, in every sector in the market, is looking for the same thing, because consumption now is no longer the purchase of the object. The transactional aspect of the past is gone. There's so much stuff. And in some ways, I think this COVID kind of apocalypse, quote unquote, is a good thing. It's kind of clearing the landscape a little bit, because there literally was just too much of everything. Now, you know, the brands and the people that will survive this and I think also, you know, thrive, are the ones that are going to be able to understand who their customer is and bring them meaningful moments that somehow elevate their lives, transformational moments, quote unquote, you know, because status is no longer that important. I mean, I would feel weird walking down the street with a big flashy bag that says Chanel on it, you know, at the moment, knowing that there's so many people unemployed. So when I say that, you know, luxury is invisible, it means that luxury cues are going to be, again, that insider knowledge. Like, because you can recognize it because not because it has a logo, but it has an indicator that says you're a certain type of consumer that enjoys a certain type of experience. And I think that even that's applicable even to the service industry like hospitality.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. We have a bunch of listeners. Any questions? If you have questions, please type them into the comments section, and we can give them a go. Both George and I can actually see them. One of the comments here was, so luxury is accessible to more people. And, in theory, I think luxury should be accessible to everyone.
Yes.
Right? Everybody's definition of what is luxury to them is different.
Yeah, I think that the idea of premiumization across the board for even value brands is super important, because we haven't had an elevation of those value brands in a long time. And I think the expectation now, because of platforms like Instagram, people see so much, their expectation is much higher than it's been in the past. So even brands that bring value need to elevate themselves as well. It's not about luxury, it's about aspiration and inspiration. We work a lot with McDonald's. We try to create very inspirational environments for them. They're high durability, health and safety regulated back and forth. The needs in terms of logistic and planning needs within the restaurant are super high and strict, but we still manage to create an elevated moment for those McDonald's customers. A very value-oriented brand, obviously, but it doesn't mean that it can't be an inspiring experience.
It's so good. Inspiring experience. There was another one that you dropped about the hygiene being the new beauty. Love that.
Well, I think, that's just something that needs to happen in the immediate future. I don't think that's a long-term thing. I think everything will, eventually go back to normal. But you do need to get people to feel safe. That's going to be the key. It's like, you guys as a company, Marriott is amazing. You guys have some of the best hotel brands in the world, and everyone trusts Marriott, but there's still that fear that I'm going to be infected. And it's not because of Marriott, it's just because, you're going to get on. To me, the scary thing is not a hotel room. To me, the scary thing is going to be a plane, because
did that last week. It's
that would, Yeah,
it's understandable. You're in a capsule. You're not out in the fresh air. Like, of course, these are all completely rational considerations. It's a very quiet audience. No questions.
What's my lunch travel?
I don't see any questions either. I see. Oh wait, there's.
So you got those. I brought them to you earlier. So before we wrap up, I did want to make a few quick reminder announcements. So don't forget, tomorrow we have the CEO at 1776, John Mayer and Andrew Benioff will cover New Wave Entrepreneurship and the future of flexible office spaces. On Thursday, another one of our advisory board members, Tom Dibble of Screen Pilot, will speak with Robert Cole of Focusrite and Rock Cheetah on hotel market forecasts. And then last of all, on Friday afternoon, with your cocktail, Amar Lalvani, CEO of Standard Hotels, will be live. ILC would like to thank our presenting sponsor, Ivy by Go Moment, our supporting sponsors, RCCB Law and Hannah Lee Communications for supporting our digital events. We have more sponsorship opportunities. If you're interested, you can find Jackie Kelly's contact information on our website at ilcongress.com. Finally, please consider donating to ILC. We rely heavily on live events as our main source of revenue, and we'd appreciate any donations to keep us going through this challenging time. You can donate on our website at ilcongress.com. So George, thank you as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Never enough. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Amsterdam when this is all
I can't
over.
Wait. I can't wait.
Any parting words or till next time?
Well, I think let's look at this not as a period of challenge and suffering, but as a period of opportunity and eventually thriving again. This is about the transformation of the world, really, because everyone has been affected by this. And, hopefully we'll come out even better as a society.
Love it. Love it. Thank you as always. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.